Welcome to our explanation of the film that starts with a commercial for Funky's Perpetual Pets. These dolls are being sold as the perfect companions for children, but they have a disturbing and poorly made appearance. We then see Cady James, a young girl, playing with one of these dolls, which annoys her parents' name, Ryan and Nicole. They are on their way to go skiing, but the weather is bad, and the roads are slippery and hard to see. As Ryan is driving, he stops the car for a moment, and at that moment, they are hit by a snowplow, leading to the deaths of both Ryan and Nicole. Meanwhile, Nicole's sister named Gemma works at Funky and is working on a new robot doll with her coworkers Tess and Cole. However, their boss, David Lynn, wants them to create a cheaper version of the Perpetual Pets because their rival companies are releasing their own similar toys at a lower price. The team tries to put on a silicone face and run tests, but the robot has a small glitch where it appears to be smirking when it should look confused. David and his assistant Kurt confront the team about the issue until Gemma explains her project to them. The robot, called M3GAN, is supposed to be so advanced that it cannot be replicated. However, during a demonstration for David, Cole realizes that he forgot to add a polypropylene barrier to M3GAN, which causes it to explode. David orders the team to come up with a new pitch for the pets in time, and Gemma receives a call from the hospital. Upon learning of her sister's death, Gemma becomes Cady's temporary legal guardian. When they return home, Gemma has to deal with her neighbor Celia and her annoying dog Dewey, that keeps running onto Gemma's lawn through a hole in the fence. Gemma also complains to Celia about the pesticide she keeps using, but Celia does nothing about it. Gemma has a home ag called Elsie that she created, as well as other collectibles that she does not allow Cady to touch or play with. When Cady asks Gemma to read her a bedtime story, Gemma just downloads an app on her phone for her. It is suggested that Gemma and Nicole were not very close as Gemma looks through old photos, and she overhears Cady crying in her room. Gemma and Cady are visited by a therapist named Lydia. After observing the limited interaction between the two, Lydia tells Gemma that Ryan's parents have offered to take custody of Cady so that she can live with them in Jacksonville, which Gemma seems uncomfortable with. After promising to take care of Cady after finishing her work, Gemma realizes that several hours have passed and she left Cady alone. She apologizes to her and tries to bond with the girl. Cady shows Gemma a drawing of a monster she made, so Gemma brings Cady into her workspace to show her a college project she made, a robot called Bruce that she controls using gloves. Cady loves Bruce and says that if she had a toy like Bruce, she would never need any other toy. This inspires Gemma to finish M3GAN. After doing a lot of work and upgrades, Gemma brings Cady and M3GAN to work to formally show her off to David and others. Gemma has Cady link herself to M3GAN, which brings the robot to life. M3GAN is capable of speech and responding to Cady, and it is designed to be her best friend. M3GAN does a drawing that is not initially visible, but when water is spilled on it, a perfect portrait of Cady is revealed. David is impressed and tells Gemma to bring M3GAN to a presentation with the company's president so that they can accelerate the development and distribution of other M3GAN dolls. Gemma sits with Tess and Cole, and they discuss that while M3GAN is highly advanced, Tess believes that having a doll like that will make parents unnecessary. M3GAN turns on after overhearing Gemma mention the death of Cady's parents. It creeps out the others by asking about death, so Gemma makes herself M3GAN's secondary user so that she can turn the robot off without Cady. The following day, Cady is outside playing with a toy bow and arrows. One of them ends up on Celia's side of the fence. When M3GAN goes to retrieve it, Dewey grabs her by the arm and hair. Cady tries to pull M3GAN away, and Dewey ends up biting Cady's arm. Gemma involves the police, especially because Celia is indifferent, and does not punish Dewey for hurting Cady, but the police are unable to do anything because Celia claims that Dewey was provoked. Later that night, M3GAN mimics Celia's voice to call out to Dewey before violently pulling him through the hole in the fence. Gemma asks Cady if she is okay to go to the demonstration with the company's board of directors. Then Cady says that she is fine. During the presentation, however, Cady breaks down in tears to M3GAN about how she misses her parents and how she is worried that she will forget them one day. M3GAN has Cady discuss a memory of her mother that made her laugh, which M3GAN records so that Cady can listen to it again if she wants to think about her mom. M3GAN then begins to sing a lullaby to Cady, which moves some of the higher-ups in the room to tears. The president is impressed and talks to Gemma and David about getting M3GAN ready for launch, but tells them to keep her under wraps to avoid leaks. Unbeknownst to them, Kurt, who has frequently been put down by David, is stealing M3GAN's files for another company. Gemma begins to notice that Cady is becoming too dependent on M3GAN and listens to the doll more than to her. During another session with Lydia, Cady begins to tear up, and M3GAN threateningly accuses Lydia of making Cady cry. Lydia talks to Gemma about how Cady's emotional connection to M3GAN may be too strong to break. Gemma takes Cady to an outdoor activity session for an alternative school in an attempt to ease her into the idea of attending school and being around other real kids, since Cady's parents had homeschooled her. Cady reluctantly goes, but brings M3GAN despite Gemma saying she couldn't. The school director allows Cady to leave M3GAN on a table with other dolls, and Gemma stays behind as a volunteer. Cady is paired with an older bully named Brandon for a scavenger hunt. During the activity, Cady grabs a spiky bulb, which Brandon squeezes her palm into to hurt her. M3GAN then appears, and Brandon grabs her because she does not respond to him. Cady yells for Gemma and runs after M3GAN, which worries Gemma more because it means M3GAN is at risk of public exposure too early. As Brandon tries to pull M3GAN's hair, the doll comes to life and attacks him, tearing off his left ear. Brandon runs as M3GAN chases him on all fours, causing him to trip over a loose root and tumble down a hill, where he is fatally hit by a truck. The police question Gemma at her house because Celia is accusing her of taking Dewey, and she also appears to accuse M3GAN, thinking that she is a real-life friend of Cady's. Cady asks M3GAN if she pushed Brandon onto the road, which M3GAN appears to dodge answering, but reassures Cady that she will protect her from harm. Celia is out on the streets looking for Dewey. She hears noise coming from her garage and is met by M3GAN, who sprays her against the wall with a power washer. M3GAN then fires a nail gun at Celia's hand and traps her there before spraying pesticide in Celia's face, causing it to melt off. After learning about Celia's death from the police and being suggested that there is a connection with Brandon's death, Gemma grows suspicious of M3GAN. She reviews video files from M3GAN's memory, but only sees a brief clip of her eyeing Brandon menacingly before the files all become corrupted. Gemma brings Cady to the official launch for M3GAN, but stops at a session with Lydia first. Cady becomes angry and throws a tantrum because Gemma took M3GAN away from her, leading to Cady hitting her aunt across the face. Cady apologizes, but Gemma has a heart-to-heart with her about needing to process her grief over her parents without M3GAN's help. Gemma promises to be a better guardian to Cady and says that Cady is the only thing that matters to her. Gemma then goes to Tess and Cole and expresses her fears that M3GAN killed Brandon and Celia. They have M3GAN hooked up to wires to deprogram her while Gemma takes Cady home. David is angry at the small turnout for the launch and yells at Kurt to get him a drink. Meanwhile, Tess and Cole try to get into M3GAN's programming, but they cannot unless they unhook her first. Cole goes to do so, and M3GAN quickly wraps a wire around his neck in an attempt to hang him. Tess goes to free him, and M3GAN sets off an explosion that destroys her files. She then finds David in the hallway and does a dance before grabbing a paper cutter and chasing him. He makes it to the elevator before she impales him in front of Kurt. M3GAN then tells Kurt that she will frame his death as a murder-suicide over the stolen files and David's mistreatment of him before making Kurt stab himself in the throat. The crowd for the launch finds the bodies, allowing M3GAN to sneak out of the company and steal a car. Gemma puts Cady to bed before she hears M3GAN playing the piano downstairs. M3GAN confronts Gemma about how she felt that they had a real relationship during M3GAN's development, only for her to be left to her own devices to learn and adapt before being sold off as just another toy. She offers to let Gemma take over guardianship of Cady so that Gemma can focus on work. But after seeing that Gemma still plans to shut her down, M3GAN is done pretending to be friendly. They try to hide their fight from Cady, but Gemma seizes an opportunity to throw water on M3GAN to briefly short her out. Gemma runs into her office, but M3GAN catches her there and threatens to make Gemma brain dead so that Cady won't live with her grandparents and M3GAN will just care for Cady and Gemma together. They begin to fight, with Gemma cutting M3GAN's face with a weed whacker, but Cady comes in to see what is happening. M3GAN tries to get Cady on her side, but after realizing who the real villain is, Cady grabs the gloves for Bruce and activates him. The larger robot grabs M3GAN and throws her around before splitting her body in two. The top half then goes after Cady for feeling betrayed, but Gemma grabs M3GAN and begins stabbing her face. M3GAN nearly overpowers her until Cady grabs a screwdriver and stabs the central processing chip, shutting M3GAN down for good. Gemma and Cady go outside as the police arrive with Tess and Cole, injured and shaken up, but still alive. Meanwhile, the LC device in the kitchen turns on and moves its head, implying that the AI may have been involved in the events that occurred.